Welcome back to Great Day. You may remember my next guest as the resident doctor on The Biggest Loser, but now Dr. Robert Huizenga is bringing attention to a topic that always has a big stigma attached to it, STDs. There are 110 million infections of STDs in America right now, and most people don't even know they have it. He outlines it all in his new book, Sex, Lies, and STDs. Welcome, Dr. Huizenga, to Great Day. Good morning.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so we know you as the internist, and you were on The Biggest Loser, and you help people to lose weight. Why that shift to STDs? What made you decide you need to write this book?
I backed into this. I was on the Today Show with Charlie Sheen, a patient, and Matt Lair, and Charlie came out and declared that he had HIV. He then, live on TV, said, oh, and I've had intercourse with several of my girlfriends without a condom under a doctor's care. And the internet just blew up, you enabling Hollywood doctor. And I realized right then, because a fully treated individual with HIV on medication cannot pass it to their partner, even without a condom. And people have no idea.
Yeah, we've come a long way. Yeah, absolutely.
It's not a fatal disease anymore if you get diagnosed, and half the people either aren't diagnosed or aren't fully treated. So it's still a huge problem. 40,000 people still get HIV every year, but it's totally treatable and curable. But the ignorance, the lack of awareness is astounding.
Yeah, lack of awareness, and I think shame also. And so there are a couple things that happen here. Obviously, if we could have people practice some preventive measures, that would be great. But in the heat of the moment, people are thinking about that later, right? And that's...
Well, but they would do prevention if they were aware. Yeah. I mean, because we know it's a huge problem, like you said. This year alone, 25 million Americans will get an STD. And the vast majority of those are totally preventable if we think about it before.
Oh, but doctor, you don't understand. See, that guy doesn't look like he would have an STD, or that girl doesn't look like she would have an STD.
How many times, I don't know whether you're single or married, but the people dating out there, how many times has your partner said, I've never had an STD?
Yeah, but a lot of them don't even know, right?
They don't know, because the #1 presentation of an STD is no symptoms at all. And 98% of people have had HPV, so it's all BS. We've all had an STD. It's just a question of, do you have an active one now?
Yeah.
And over 100 million Americans do right now, and the vast majority don't know.
And what exacerbates it is, of course, this culture that we're in right now, where the dating apps, where they kind of swipe and I'm going to hook up, and then that's the deal, right? And so there's even more of that today.
Well, if you're at high risk for an STD, then you need to get tested every 6 to 12 months. Very few people do.
What is high risk? I think sometimes people fall into this false sense of security when they go, oh, I'm not high risk. Doesn't mean that you're not at risk if you're having sex.
That is correct.
I mean, if high you're risk, none, and you're being true, maybe so, but but otherwise.
Absolutely, because high risk is in a new relationship or a heterosexual with multiple partners, men who have sex with men. Women less than 30, a huge problem, because they get chlamydia, they don't know about it, and it sticks with them. #4, individuals who have intercourse under the influence of drugs, alcohol. And #5, don't forget about pregnant individuals. They're not at high risk per se, but they have 2 individuals at risk, and there's no reason any of these STDs should affect the newborn, and they do in literally hundreds of thousands of cases.
Yeah, and so it can happen, but your point is preventive one, but the other point is you have to know where you stand so that you can be treated, because most of them can be treated.
The viruses, we have great prevention, and the bacteria can all be treated, but you can't treat something you don't screen for and you don't know about.
Yeah, all right. This is a statistic that you got to stop and think about this. 32,000 cases of AIDS in Houston. And this is one of those things that, again, if you're with one partner, it's one thing, but it can be, it can multiply very quickly.
Correct. And of those 32,000, if the national averages are correct, half either don't know they have HIV or aren't fully treated. They're the people that are going to spread it. If you're fully treated, you're not going to spread it. And that's true for a lot of these diseases. If you're aware, you're not going to spread it to your partner.
Yeah. All right. Because of Viagra, we're seeing STDs in a much older population than we did before as well.
Nursing homes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, look, there was a nursing home where they had the camera in the hallway, and the nurse, she told me, she goes, look at this. They're going from room to room. I'm like, they are playing catch up, okay? They are catching up. Okay. I think the other problem we have is first of all, how many of you all in the audience did your parents teach you about the birds and the bees? Oh, okay, about 4 of you. Okay, good. Right. And even the fact that I have to say birds and the bees, right, as opposed to saying what it is.
Stigma.
Right. But yet a lot of parents, if you ask them, oh no, the school will not teach my child that, I will do it, right? Or my child is not going to do that until they are married.
Abstinence, that's what a lot of people think is sex education, and abstinence doesn't work. It lowers the chance of vaginal intercourse, but oral intercourse goes up. Other dangerous sexual activity goes up, so it doesn't lower the rate of STDs.
And of course, when you talk about oral, the problem there is people think, oh, I can't catch anything that way.
And that's absolutely incorrect, since there are many skin-to-skin infections, and so obviously syphilis, herpes, HPV are very easily spread with oral intercourse. And the other issue is that you can even get STDs with touching. You know, we have to start teaching kids at a young age, because they use the Bill Clinton definition of sex sometimes, and you know that doesn't quite work anymore. Right.
Okay. And then even bed sheets.
It's possible to get bed sheets. Certain things like gonorrhea can be passed, but that's relatively rare.
Yeah.
But you know, certain things like crabs can be passed with bed sheets. So yeah, even Airbnb people aren't totally out of the woods and need to read this book.
Take your own bleach spray with you, right? Okay, what about, and I heard this for years, the toilet seat?
The toilet seat is an incredibly rare form. It's usually moist surfaces that can be an issue, moist towels and stuff, where certain sororities, things are passed around from individual to individual.
Yeah. All right, so things that we need to know. One is, if you go to a doctor, you have to be honest and you have to say, I think I may have been exposed, or can you test for? Because they don't automatically test for these things.
Well,
or all of
a
them,
lot
right?
of doctors are asleep at the wheel. You have to slap them in the face and say, doctor, am I getting a complete STD screen? Because some of them don't screen for herpes, they don't screen for mycoplasma, trichomonas, and the doctors are too embarrassed to get a good sexual history from you, because then they can't know who's at high risk, and they can't know who to really pinpoint for every 6-month screening.
Yeah, and we go to the doctor when we're in crisis, and as you pointed out, that crisis may not ever happen because you don't know what's happening.
The
There's
number
no symptoms.
one symptom is no symptoms.
Yeah.
And so if you're at high risk, and again, high risk is multiple partners, men who have sex with men, people that are doing drugs when they're having sex, and people that exchange money, of course, or presents for sex, they need to be in there every 6 months for a screen, because you may not get symptoms.
Yeah, all right. Be able to describe any symptoms you might have to your doctor, be able to describe timelines. And again, the whole thing is to be open and honest. And then you say—
there's another thing. If you go to the doctor and you say, gosh, I had a risky encounter a week ago, do you really know, or does your doctor know how long it takes for the STDs to present so the blood tests are positive? And it turns out it probably takes 3 weeks for the majority of those tests to turn positive. There's exceptions that turn positive in a week, but if you run to the doctor 3 days after that encounter, the test may be negative, but you're still infected.
Yeah, and when you say I had a risky encounter, I think a lot of people wouldn't even know if they had a risky encounter. I mean, it's not like somebody comes up and says, hey, how are you? Would you like to sleep together? I've been with the world. Let me just tell you that right now. Yeah. And you know, I'm an IV drug user, and I've been with anybody. I don't discriminate, right? Because especially when you first start dating, people, they put like
a closed book.
Yeah, absolutely. And so one of the things you say too is you have to discuss your sexual history. I have a couple of friends who there's nothing that's going to happen until blood work is produced.
Well, I think that the problem is they sometimes go to a doctor that isn't fully informed, and they produce blood work, and even that's not fully informative.
Yeah. All right. So how do we practice safe sex then if we're worried about those things?
Well, safe sex is understanding and reading a little bit about it, not just looking for quick sound bites. And the internet's not a place to necessarily find that. So safe sex is, are you at high risk, new relationships, checking yourself, and getting a full legitimate screen that we talk about.
Yeah. All right. Up next, the reason for the stigma surrounding STDs is directly related to the fact that we still have hang-ups about sex. How to talk to our children about this very natural part of ourselves as human beings. Yeah!